Hello, welcome back to All for United WFC. We were so close to moving the show to tomorrow, but we are here. Thanks, Jess, obviously, for joining myself and Barry for this evening as we look ahead to Sunday into the game against Reading, where traditionally we've done all right against Reading. Touch wood. That trend continues, but we're going to get into all that. Hello to everyone in the comments. Make sure you're liking the video and subscribing and get your thoughts in over the next 45, 50 minutes or so that we are live. TJ, someone sent you the crib sheet because you are starting nicking my questions right from the off. So before we actually get on to the Reading game, I want to talk about two names that every United fan, it seems, or women's team fan is talking about on Twitter right now, which is obviously Jade Riviere and the player TJ's mentioned. I've lost his comment. There we go. I hope I'm saying this right. I'm going to butcher it. Here we go, Barry. You ready for this? Estelle Cascarino. Is that how we're saying it? Is that right? Even if it's not, I'm going with it anyway because it sounds cool.
I feel like you've chosen an easy one there to try and have a go at. You can't go too far wrong with Cascarino and Estelle.
I know. Wait till if we sign the Norwegian Lisa. I'm dreading trying to say her surname.
Mollison, surely, something like that.
Potentially. But yeah, so we're going to talk about the transfer, those two in just a second. I've just noticed this. Well, Jess, who have you got on the back of your...
Has she got anyone on the back?
She's actually going to show...
She's gone for two. Well, there you go.
Love it. There we are. It's a lot of people don't like that kit. I actually really like it, but that's a whole other...
Yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I love it.
Yeah, see? A lot of people say it's not bad look anyway, but whatever. I'm going massively opposite.
You're never going to get run over in the middle of the night with one of them on, are you?
Exactly.
Safety first, people.
TJ Saw was right, yes. Cascarino. Yes, and her sister is a lot more famous because a lot of people thought we were signing her when we initially met him. Anyway, Barry, right, come to you first. What do you think on the two names? Graham obviously tweeted out earlier. Two names, it looks like they're pretty much done. We've known for a long time about Jade Riviere as well, fullback from Canada. What are your feelings on these two getting over the line? We thought we'd get an announcement today. It doesn't look like we're going to, so it's going to happen. I'll be amazed now if it doesn't. So what are your kind of thoughts on those two?
Well, I can keep mine quite short and sweet on this one because as all avid viewers of All for United will know, my knowledge of foreign football within the women's divisions yet has not grown to a level whereby I can speak with confidence about these people. So, yeah, well, how do I feel about these people that I don't know coming in? How I feel about it is I go back to my tried and tested, well, there's a scouting system in place. We've got Skinner in charge, and these are the people that he wants. And as you all know, I'm very much Skinner in and have all of the trust and faith in him. The bit that I like about it, though, if I'm right, I think I'm right. You'll tell me if I'm wrong, Connor, but they're both fullbacks, right?
One is more centrally. Estelle is more centrally, from what I understand, but Jade is very much a fullback.
Cool. So we've said that we need a new fullback. We're getting one of those, so that's great. That's really helpful. And if one of them is more central, that could well mean that we're then thinking that we may also want to shift Mayer out to the right should we need to as well. So for me, I've said we need defenders, and I think that that's exactly what he's done. So I can't really argue. As we know, Mark Skinner, an avid watcher of All for United, gets all of his tactics and everything from what's being said on here. And he's listened again. So all I can say is well done, Mark, and, good job.
Indeed. John's asked the question. Well, we're not going to know until she comes in because we thought we had an idea of where Maya was going to be playing. Or if you listen to this channel, I did say, I'm just saying that she was coming in to play centre-half, and she has been. But yeah, in regards to Cascarino, yeah, we don't know until she comes in.
She wasn't going to play centre-half, actually, Connor. She was always going to play right-back, but Mark was watching it and went, that's an idea, I might try that. And look what he did, and look, it's like, honestly, we're just running this. It's Football Manager.
And yeah, potentially CDM, yeah. I think so. I think that's probably about right as well. She has been known to play there as well, so 100% on that one. Jess, same question to yourself, but also this comment, because it's something you will see on a show that I've already recorded with a Canadian national team fan. I asked her this question because I actually think, and United fans, cover your ears, you're not going to like this, I think Jade is coming in as an honour replacement. Do you think that is the case maybe for her, or do you think she's coming in as backup? How are you feeling about the signing first off, and what do you think to that one, that she's one for the future honour and Hannah have been consistent performance this season?
I think, well, I hate to say it, but I do think that she is coming in most likely as a replacement for Honor, which is absolutely devastating for me. Because I feel like I don't just this season, especially, I've really been like watching Honor, and I just think she's like insanely good and just getting better and better and better. And she is going to be such a huge loss. But I do think that it is inevitable. In terms of the two players coming in, I'm kind of similar. I don't really, it's kind of difficult to follow teams abroad because, I mean, it's kind of hard enough in this country to follow women's football at times, or it has been. So trying to dig out kind of information from players from like outside of the UK is a little bit tricky, but I think it is good to bolster our defence. I know that Riviera's got like quite a, from what I've heard anyway, she's supposed to be a very good player, done well at like college level. So hopefully she'll just help kind of bolster our defence a little bit, give us some more options. I think she's pretty young as well, like 20, 21. So hopefully it's sort of one for the future. With United in general kind of being, or the women's team being a sort of new team, it's kind of becoming clear that maybe Skinner's now trying to sort of build a squad. And I think one thing we've kind of been lacking is depth. So hopefully, like you were saying, we've hopefully got good scouts in kind of place. So I'm really hoping that this is going to help us to strengthen our squad and, really challenge for the rest of the season. So yeah, I'm looking forward to actually seeing them get some game time. Hopefully, I just hope it's not like a couple of the players we sort of signed in summer where we still kind of yet to see them, like Adriana Leon. Hopefully, we can get some game time.
Indeed, yeah. It's hard to disagree with what you just said there. I think just answering Sarah's question, she is injured. If you watch, as soon as this signing's announced, by the way, like I said, we've already got the recording done with somebody who knows Jade a lot better than I'm sure any of us do. Watch the week in, week out, but she confirmed, you'll see it on the show when that goes out, that she should be back around mid-February time, so not too long. But she is back training with footballs and back on the grass, so to speak, as well. So it's not going to be too much longer. But yeah, she has come off a few month injury with her hip, I believe it was. So a little bit of a concern there, but hopefully she beds into the WSL nicely. There's someone, John, saying there, if she isn't on a replacement, it's good that we got her now, get her used to WSL, get her bedded into the team. Then come next season, if she is to be our starting fullback, at least we've already bedded her in that case. In answer to this question, no idea is the short answer. Honestly, no idea. Everyone's in the rumors on Twitter. If you follow certain accounts, you would have seen. Most people think that's done. Just have to wait and see. It's another midfielder, though, so you'd like to expect that someone else is on the way out. I'm not going to be naming anyone because that starts rumors, and we're not about that. But yeah, I think if Lisa comes in, expect to see one go out. Yeah, we'll move on, Yehuda. We'll talk about how good Honor's going to be in this game coming up because she's certainly going to play a big part. She should have had a goal against Reading away last year, but I'm sure we're going to talk about that. Right, moving on to the game itself then. Barry, me and you were chatting backstage just before we came on. First question I'm going to go with, come to both of you on this. Is there any concern at all with this game? We're on a good run of form. Reading they're not on a bad run of form for the team that they are. But are we worried at all with how well we're playing at the moment? We're not just beating teams, we're beating teams heavily at the moment. So, Barry, first for yourself, is there any concern for you going into this one?
Well, it's quite interesting because as we were sat backstage, I'm going to break the fourth wall slightly here. One of the two of us that were sat here said it can be a bit difficult to talk about this because, let's be honest, it's Reading. And I'm like, whoa, Tiger. That might have given away which one of us said that now. But generally, that's what we're thinking. Oh, it's only Reading, nearly bottom of the table. But actually, it was really interesting reading what Jamie Skinner, that's interesting, Jamie Spencer wrote about Marta Skinner in the press conference that was done. She was talking about the game earlier on in the season, first game, won 4-0. And obviously, we smashed them. All three of us were there for that first game. And we walloped them that first half. It was just unbelievable. We put them to the sword. And I think the only thing that came out as a negative from the people that I was talking to is the fact that we didn't seem to do anything in the second half. And people thought that was us taking our foot off the gas, as if we're going, oh, we don't need to worry about that anymore. And it's really interesting hearing what Skinner himself had to say, because he actually put the blame squarely on Reading, saying how they'd changed the game, looked at the tactics, thought about how things were going, and set up on the pitch so that we couldn't play through them. Not that, we weren't trying that very hard, that they'd stopped us, basically, from doing it. So he was putting a lot of kudos, I think, really into the management team for Reading. So I think that was a really interesting first thought. He also pointed out that some of the changes they make. So they played with 3 at the back, a diamond in midfield. So he's talking about wanting to be able to adjust and also to dictate the tempo. So are there any worries? Of course there's worries. It's the WSL. You've got to be careful. The second thing that I thought was interesting was we looked back at some of their games, and actually they're on quite a good run. There's only 3 teams that have beaten Reading to 0 this season. You'd expect most of them, being us, City and Arsenal. We won 4-0, City 3-0, thanks to 2 own goals from Reading as well. So they really did help them out with that one. And 1-0 for Arsenal. The reason I say that is because all of these other teams they performed really well with. Everton 3-2, they fight back, they score goals. They beat Coventry United 4-0, Chelsea, they were 3-2, that was close. Reading beat Tottenham 1-0. They beat Southampton 3-0. They drew 3-0 with Liverpool. So the further back you go, the harder it can be seen to be. And I think the last stat that I would throw out from this was the Super League table. Apart from West Ham and Villa, they've got the best goals scored in the league below the top 4. And so I just think we do need to be careful. It's one of those where if we go in with the attitude of it's only Reading, we are definitely in trouble, because you can't have that sort of feeling. And so I like the way Skinner's talking about it, and I like the way he's saying we've got to make sure we prepare for it, and the way he goes into his press conferences as well. So do we need to worry? We shouldn't need to worry, but that's for us fans to feel. I'm fairly certain the players will go in all guns blazing.
Yeah, I was going to say, you mentioned not worrying there. I think Charlie was pacing around at the away game last season. Charlie, if she's still in the comments, will remember that. When it was 3-1 and Reading had quite a few chances towards the end, she had a whole row to herself just pacing up and down.
That's no mean feat to get a row to yourself at Reading, let me tell you.
Well, that was horrendous, wasn't it, Reading last season? But we have got our own little away section this time. So, well, I say away section. They've given us a block to book in, which is better than nothing, to be fair. So thank Reading for that. Jess, for yourself, are you concerned in any way? Barry just mentioned Skinner's comments there, and he is right. The second half against Reading on the first game of the season, we scored 4 early on, obviously, in the first half, and second half didn't really manage to create anything. So are you concerned in any way, or do you think we should just be rocking up here expecting 3 points and a load of goals?
I wouldn't say concerned, but I do think that Reading, the way they're performing, their position in the league isn't kind of representative of their performances. Like Barry was saying, looking at some of their previous scoreline, so their biggest defeat came against United. So great. So whilst I know there's a big emphasis thinking, right, bottom of the league, we can pile some goals past them, their biggest defeat has come from United when we beat them 4-0. And like we were saying, we took the foot off the gas a little bit in the second half. But they seem to be kind of like comeback kings at the minute. Whilst their comebacks haven't necessarily kind of given them results, I think that is something that Skinner's going to be very wary of. And I know they've been sort of like heavily advertising this game. I think they've got a record crowd coming. They are going to be up for this game. It's home fixture for them. They're getting really close to getting some sort of like upset results for the kind of league. They had that comeback against Chelsea. They're the same again against Everton. I don't know whether it's teams are going into the game going, oh, it's only Reading, we'll fire 10 past them, it'll be fine. But I do think we're going to have to be looking at those previous games and thinking we need to like stay tight in the second half, because that seems to be where their kind of opposition are coming apart. The sort of the last half an hour of games where you'd expect teams in the bottom bit of the table to start flagging and fatiguing. They are clearly not. I mean, I can't say that I've actually watched any of their games all the way through, other than the game they obviously played against United. But they must have decent sort of fitness levels to be kind of getting these like near comebacks. So I do think we need to treat them with respect. I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily concerned, because I do still think that we will sort of comfortably win. And I'm hoping with our run of form, if we can, keep it going all the way through the full 90, don't stop pressing the goal, but also stay tight defensively and don't lose any concentration. I don't see why we can't win by another good scoreline.
Ellie's throwing the thing in there. Will Diane start against us? I'm not too sure. She didn't, as said there, didn't last time, did she? So I don't think so. Just looking at Reading's recent game, I don't know. I'm not sure. But there was something that John put. God, there was so many comments ago now. Where is it gone? I should have had it pinned, shouldn't I? I've lost it. Oh, my life, where is it? There it is. John's saying, interesting, if we win at Reading, it'll be about our 5th away league win of the season. We only won 4 last season. Just sticking with yourself, Jess, and then Barry, you following on this point as well. Is that what this is about? Obviously, going into this season, I know John raised this on a fans forum a few months ago now, talking about our away form. Is this where we move to the next level and show that we've improved this season, that we are able to improve on last season's results, certainly by away form alone?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, you want to see improvements in terms of gaining trophies, gaining Champions League, if not, finishing even higher. But I think sometimes it is good to break it down and look at the kind of smaller achievements and smaller improvements you make season on season. And go into some away grounds. It is a big deal, being able to go to some of these places and just even come away with a point. That is big progress. I mean, going back to that game at the Emirates against Arsenal, I mean, that was huge. That would never have happened in previous seasons. So I think that does show huge growth, and that's especially showing that if we do win this weekend, we're already at the 5th away league win. That's insane, considering we're still only halfway through the season and we've still got plenty more to go.
Hi, how can I help you today?
I thought you were just going to go straight back in and ask.
I was still writing down a couple of bits and pieces, so I don't know what the question was. I'm just going to go sliding off into my own little direction here, because I found our website. I've got no idea if this website's any good. It's called Footy Stats. They could be lying through their back teeth at me. But there's some really interesting bits and pieces here. For example, Reading have scored in only 62% of all their home games. We've scored in 86% of our away games. So it looks like we would be the most likely to score. But Reading have also only scored first in a third of their games, whereas we've scored first in 73%, 11 out of 15 games, which is quite something. But Reading has scored 57% of their goals in the first half, where we only scored 45% of ours. So I think basically what I'm saying here is I've got no idea what's going to happen. The statistics don't help us. What was your question, Connor? I don't know really.
I was talking. It was John Camo's comment about away games in terms of showing little signs of improvement. We only won 4 away in the league last year. Where this could be our 5th already. We've still got a few away games to go. It's kind of, as Jess mentioned now, these little improvement steps. Rather than yes, we want a trophy this season. That's definitely improvement. Yeah. We're seeing little bits of improvement year on year.
Massively. I mean, you say little bits. I'd say that all those little bits make a massive improvement, and that's why we are where we are in the league, just 3 points behind Chelsea. I think we spoke a lot about the points that we were dropping, those silly things where we're ahead. We've not really been in that position where we've only been like one ahead, and then we've let a goal go and we've really dropped it. The only time we looked like we dropped the ball actually was against Arsenal, really. Because we had the lead and then we went and dropped it, and now we're 2-1 down. And, the Emirates are all sitting there going, well, that's it then, and it's happened at last. And then, of course, euphoria. So this is what I mean. There's such a good energy and such a good change. I mean, I really liked the way that Mark Skinner was talking about how he keeps the players motivated, how he keeps them going, and how he's had a conversation with all of them since they came back at Christmas that's lasted between an hour and a half. Going through videos, what I'm expecting from you. This is what I want you to do. Talking to them about what they feel, how they see their future going, all of these sorts of things. He's spending the time with them, and he's just being honest with them. I fail to see what this guy could possibly do more than he actually is. It's just all of these little changes, they come from last year. We were doing pants in some of those games, and he said, we've got to learn from this, and we're learning from it. So John Commode, for about the 5th time this year, I'm a bit worried about this. I agree with what he said.
That's becoming quite a scary.
It's a bit scary, actually. Don't like it.
Scary prospect right there. Moving on to from a United point of view, I know you just put a question in about Reading's key players and so on. I'll come back to that in just a second. From a United point of view, then, Jess, is there any changes that you would make either from last week, obviously against Liverpool, or from the home game earlier on the season? I know obviously injuries to Galton might change your decision a little bit. Skinner has had his say on that, saying that she's got a fitness test ready for, obviously, whether she's fit or not for Sunday. If not, she'll be back next week for the Sunderland game. But is there any changes you'd make from Liverpool, or would you keep the same kind of lineup and keep that going, and maybe keep Galton out for the FA Cup game to bring her back into?
Yeah, I think I'd probably stick with the same lineup as last week, as we started with last week. Again, it's like I was saying before, I do think we need to kind of go out and show Reading a bit of respect. Despite their league position, I do think they could make things awkward. So I'd like to see us line up the same as we did last weekend. At the end of the day, hopefully with that lineup, we should net a few goals pretty easily, really, with that team. And that's when you can start kind of getting some squad rotation in maybe, and bringing on some subs. But again, you want to kind of keep that core defensive unit, because I reckon in the sort of later stages of the game, that's when they're going to become a little bit more dangerous. But yeah, like that comment says, if Leah's not 100% fit, I wouldn't risk her. There's no point kind of forcing her back. We played really well last week without her. I know Liverpool weren't anything kind of special, but I think stick with the same 11. Maybe if Leah is kind of back and fit, what a player to have sat on the bench that you can bring on. So yeah, I'd stick with the same 11 for me. I don't know what you guys think.
Barry, for yourself, would you be sticking to the same one as Liverpool? So that front three would be Paris on the left, Rooster down the middle, Garcia on the right. Who played in midfield? Tunic, Zellerman, Ladd, and obviously the back five that we know of.
I'm not going to do the accents. You're just going to have to imagine this in an Andrew Wall type voice. But it would be crazy to change players for the sake of it when players are playing well. Not me that said that, that's Mark Skinner, and I agree. It would be crazy. At the end of the day, the team is doing well. Changing players just for the sake of it, or just to make room for people that the fans think should be playing, madness. Absolute madness. So for me, 100%. It's got to put the same team out there. We've just got to keep the faith in the girls that are doing a fantastic job. And dare I say it, the faith in a manager who seems to be making, by and large, good decisions. He's always going to make the odd dodgy decision. He's not God. He can't get everything right. He's going to do things wrong. And there will be things that I'll come in here and go, no, Mark, you shouldn't have done that. But he doesn't have the benefit in the middle of a match of watching an North United show for us to explain to him where he's going wrong. So, it's going to happen. Seriously, no, you don't. You don't change the team. You don't. I think the biggest question is what happens up front, because there's a lot of them that could potentially get in there. I know you've mentioned a bit about Martha Thomas. And potentially, yeah, she could be playing herself into a position. Nikita Paris, I don't think has done anything wrong necessarily, but she's not necessarily setting the world alight either. So, training performances will matter with regards to that. I still would prefer to see Garcia absolutely on the right. If Galton's fit, could put her out on the left. I'd be more tempted to not play Galton actually, and to maybe bring her on as a sub at the end of the day. If she's had an injury, it makes sense to give her that opportunity to play herself back in with a little bit and then start the game against Sunderland in the FA Cup. So for me, I'd be putting Garcia on the right. I don't think anybody's questioning whether or not Russo should be playing up the front, because she should. And then it's just who goes on the left. And frankly, for the purposes of this match, I would start probably with Nikita Paris, and then bring Galton on maybe with the last sort of 20 minutes or so, providing the game is well and truly won. Because what we don't want is Galton coming on trying to bust a gut to get to Summit, and then she's back to where she started.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of points to unpick there because, as you said, I mentioned Thomas backstage because I think she's playing well enough to be going, hang on, I should be starting here. I'm coming on and making an impact every time I'm coming on. I think she's the one if you're going to make a change. But as I was thinking when somebody a bit earlier on was saying, I keep losing all these bloody comments. Where's it gone?
You wait till we get more than 30 odd people watching this live at a time.
It's not even that. Where's it? It was a John Fry comment, but I've lost it. I don't know. I've answered the
Paris?
No, it wasn't that one. Anyway, I've run over my charger as well on my chair. So
the more the girls play together, the more they understand each other.
No, it wasn't that one. I don't even think it was a John Fry comment. It might have been somebody else.
Is it that one?
I don't know. Anyway, it was talking about Paris. I'm not going to be able to find it now. I can't be bothered to scroll back up. Anyway, yeah, talking about Paris. I would be bringing her out. Like you said, Barry, I don't think she's done anything wrong, but I also don't think she's playing as well as the people that are coming on, like Martha Thomas and so on. And I also think when you're looking at players like Leon, now obviously there's discussions around her at the moment, I think for this game, Paris is probably the one that would come out. If you're going to change anyone, I think it's Paris that comes out. Garcia's got to stay on the right. And I just don't think you can change, as TJ said there. You've got to keep Garcia on the right because of Honor on that right-hand side as well. I know Garcia can play off the left, and that's what I mentioned Thomas. I'm sliding more towards Leon playing on the left because I don't think Thomas is as effective off the left. If Galton's not fully fit, she's not going to be starting there either. But I would just like to see somebody else thrown in. I know Charlie's mentioning Williams there, but I wouldn't be putting Williams out wide. That would be quite something if you're starting Williams on the left. But I mean, Jess, do you agree? Is that the one change? Can you see any change? I know we've just said there. Would we make any? Do you expect to see any?
Yeah, I mean, I said originally I wouldn't change any of the starting 11, but if I was going to make one, it would be Paris. I don't know who else you're going to change. Your back four are pretty solid. I can't see. You're not going to change your left back and your right back because they're providing like incredible support going forward, so they're fixed. Your centre-back partners, like your pair in there, I don't think you're really going to change them because they've got such a good relationship. Sort of midfield three, say, Tooney, Zell and Hayley Ladd, they've been incredible. Those three every week are kind of like rivaling each other for like player of the match. Garcia, her link-up with Honor has been insane. So, again, you're not going to change her. Russo is scoring goals. She's got great hold-up play, great link-up play. You can't take her off. So that kind of does only leave Paris. I don't think she's really offering enough at the minute for what she kind of is capable of. So, yeah, to be fair, it might be a good opportunity actually to see someone else in that position. Like you say, like Leon, it would be good to actually see her get a bit of a chance, sort of proper run out in a good kind of WSL game. Be interesting to see how she performs in that position. But yeah, I'm not sure whether he will actually make the change or not. I can't see it happening. I can see it being the same 11 again. But yeah, if anyone was to be subbed out, I would say Paris.
Yeah, because as sports, that would be my team. I would be obviously the same back five. I don't think you change the midfield, as you said. You don't change. They've not. I just think this is an opportunity to play. If you're going to rotate, we're not going to have. Now we're at the Conti Cup. We're not going to have that much opportunity to rotate if we're going in the league and we're sticking with the same team because we're winning so much. This is one of the games with your Leicesters. We obviously don't know how Brighton are going to get on under new management when that gets fully firing and a couple of signs that they've made yet. How they're going to be. But these are the kind of games I feel that you can rotate a little. I mentioned on Monday show tonight that you can rotate your forward line a little bit. You can get away with it as much. And it's not like you're dropping them and then they're out of the squad. You can still bring them on, with half time or whenever you want to. So that would be the change. If Barry's shaking his head here, what's going on?
It's just logic, Connor. It's just logic. The mad thing is you know what happens. It's like the game that we just had in the middle of the week. If Casemiro hadn't have played and we'd have lost, everyone would have gone, "Oh, we should have played Casemiro." The fact that Casemiro did play and then we didn't win in the end, but never mind. And then we draw, and he gets the headache. Oh, he's not going to be there for Arsenal now. We've got to win the game you're playing. Too many people, and God bless him, I love the bloke, but Fergie did it as well. Too many people are looking ahead, and that's not going to come yet. You've got to worry about this game and this game only. If you're not starting your best 11, I don't care if there are people sitting there going, I want to play better in training. If you're Vilda Risa and you want to play ahead of Ella Toon, do better than Ella Toon in training. Push her out of that situation. If you're Adriana Leon and you want to play for Man United, you've got to do better than Leslie Russo. If you're Sophie Bagley, you've got to be doing better than Mary Earps. This is how the game works. We don't just go, here, give yourself a little position, go on, have a crack if you want. No, you've got to be performing better. Bring on as subs, do all those things as much as you like, win the game first. And it's just this idea that you can make a few little changes if you want. You can. And then
but that's my point. I think certain players have performed better than some of the Paris in particular. I think that the players are coming on have shown, as your example, you've got to prove that you're better than what I think they have. I think that they've shown in the minutes they've played. That's why I wouldn't change any of the others. I'm just saying for that one, I think you can, because I think the players coming in have played better than Paris has.
Well, that's a different argument. If you're saying, I think they can play because they're playing better, that's fine. But the way of this, you can make a couple of changes if you want. It's like you play your best team. If Leon is doing the best in training and all of those sorts of things, then absolutely. She should be the one that plays out on the left instead of Paris, 100%. But the changes need to be for a decent reason, not just, to
I think that's good though, because it drives kind of healthy competition within the team, and that's potentially why we saw, last week so many different goal scorers coming on off the bench, and that is what you want from your team. You want them to be challenging. You want them to fight to get into that starting 11. You don't want it to be easy. You can't just be dishing out places because you feel bad because someone's not started in a few games. You want competition, because these players will be thriving off of pushing each other and competing for spaces. At the end of the day, there are only 11 spots on that pitch. You have got to fight tooth and nail to get one of those places and to prove that you're good enough to not only start, but to start kind of week in, week out. And I do think some of the subs that came on last week, they're putting in the work, and there is going to reach a point where, there is going to be an argument to start subbing players in and out, like we're kind of having now with Paris.
Yeah, I think we're not talking Danny Rose-esque when he knocked on Mourinho's door on the Spurs documentary saying I need to play kind of thing. We're not talking that. I think we're talking about players here that have performed on the pitch as well as.
Of course. Carol's put it here. Paris isn't playing as well as she can, but she's also in the shadow of Russo in a way, which is going to be hard to get out of. And I kind of see what's being said there. And if you've got a player that isn't playing well on the pitch, 100% you need to draft in somebody to replace them so that they understand, as Jess just said, there's competition. But devil's advocate, let's just throw this one out there. The BBC did name, everybody's going cheese pants. They were naming her the player of the match. Now, we can agree with that or disagree with that as much as we like, but it clearly shows that not everybody's got the same opinion. So, I think end of the day, Skinner will make the decision, won't he? But as long as it's for the right reasons, I don't mind him doing it. And it would be. If he's never going to go, do you know what? We need to give Leon a go. Let's just take Russo out just for the lulz. It's not going to happen. So as long as those players are, number one, working hard behind the scenes and getting that possibility through the fact that the other players might not be performing, that's right. That's healthy competition. Just for the sake of it, that'd annoy me.
No, yeah, I agree. I'm sure there's certain players in the squad that feel that way. But as I've said before on countless occasions, I don't think I've ever, Jess, you play football obviously at the moment. I don't think I've ever been in a single dressing room where every single person gets on and everyone gets on with the coaching staff. It just does not happen.
No,
I don't think I've never been in a dressing room where that happens. So if people are thinking that, I think are thinking of dreamland, and I don't think I've been in a football setup before or any sport.
It's game football, though, isn't it? That's exactly it, because you are a team. But you're a team, and especially at this level, you want to be playing on the pitch, don't you? You want to be there in front of the bright lights, in front of the fans, on the TV. So there's only so much you can sit there and go, oh, yeah, brilliant, well done, you scored a goal again, aren't you? Brilliant, wonderful. Really, what you're thinking is, you absolute donut, I wanted that position, I want to be playing there, and you're doing all that. So, it's hard, isn't it? People have got to put egos aside for the team. And work hard. That's how you get anywhere in life, is working hard. It's not just going to get given to you.
No, yeah, I agree with that. And I don't think there's any more we can discuss on the rotation. I'm sure we're going to get back to talking teams in a little bit when we come to score predictions, goal scorers, and all those kinds of things. But just talking about the team as a whole and as we go into the game, where are we going to win this game? And like I said, at the start of the season, we pretty comfortably put them aside. A couple of goals from Letizia on a debut. Who else scored on that? I think Russo got the other one. Who?
Zellum scored a penalty.
That was it. So a lot of set pieces in there that obviously won us the game the first time around. Jess, do you expect more of the same? It's going to be set pieces that win us this game, or do you think we've progressed as a team now? Where obviously I know set pieces are great, we're scoring a lot of set pieces, but do you think also as well we've got the capability of beating them on the ground as well?
I think we do have the capability and ability to beat them, especially coming in from the wide areas. I don't think we scored from it, but there were some good bits of link-up play in that first game against Reading. And we've kind of come a long way since then in terms of kind of the players, I think, know each other a little bit better now. They've obviously been playing together for half a season, some obviously for longer, but in terms of this kind of current campaign, been playing together for half a season. And I think there's a little bit more cohesion now compared to where we were at the start of the season, sorry. Of course, that'll be the same for Reading. They'll be potentially a kind of more solid defensive unit. I do think that defensively they are pretty good. So I do think we will struggle to kind of just walk through them in the same way that we did Liverpool. But I reckon we'll have some joy coming in from the wide areas. And at the minute, I would say that is our strongest point. And of course, Zellum set pieces is lethal constantly. Like that is always going to be dangerous. No matter where the kind of set piece is, be it corner, free kick, anywhere, that is already kind of like a goal scoring chance for us. So I think that is always a huge kind of threat to the opposition.
I think Barry, I know what your facial expression was for them. Was that for Carol's prediction that she's put in there?
Sad. I mean, 6-0 was our best score against Liverpool, and that was at home. The thought of going to Reading and knocking 7 past them, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm all here for it.
TJ's put, Reading have allowed 26 in 11, which is the second worst in the entire WSL, so potentially. Barry, just on that point, actually, where do you see us win the? Jess mentioned obviously the set piece in the wide areas there. If you go back to the reverse, I know talking a while ago now, but you go back to the reverse fixture, the away game, last season, we got a lot of joy with those kind of balls in over the top. Obviously, Galton and Russo running in behind. We got a lot of joy there. Do you expect more of the same, or do you think this season we're playing a little bit different and set piece obviously can be utilised and other things as well?
So the question was, where do I see us winning this?
Yeah, where do you think our strongest areas are, Barry?
Has to be the Select Car Leasing Stadium. I think if we're in any other stadium, we've got no chance of winning the game. Sorry. Listen, we have proved this season that we've got a lot more in our locker. We've done a lot more from the wings, a lot more crossing coming in that we've got a good end product for. Russo's been fantastic in the air. May Letizier's goals against Reading were very, very interesting. Again, coming from across, heading them in, flicking them in, free kicks, corners, anything that involves us putting a ball into the box, we have generally been quite good at. And I think a lot of teams in the WSL will be fearing the ability that we've got with that. I wonder if Zellum wasn't on the pitch, if there would be still as much fear in that. But that's a debate for another day. I think where we win the game is that we've got a defence that's solid. And what was really interesting, again, listening to what Skinner had said, was that he actually sees it as us defending from the front. It all starts with Russo trying to chase the ball to press, and then the midfield, and then the defence. And then, only if all of that has broken down and been beaten, do you have Mary Earps there who's there to sort of dig us out of trouble, which she has been. We've spoken about our defence. We spoke about that midweek. It's the 4th best defence in Europe. Along with Arsenal, I do have to say that, sadly. But 6 goals conceded. It's amazing when you consider just how well they've done. And that defensive record is vital. I talked about how good Reading have been at scoring, but as I also said, we're one of the 3 clubs that have stopped them from scoring. So that's an interesting part of it. So for me, as long as we keep the defence tight and solid as we have done, and we continue to show the attack that we've got, work that ball out to the wings, get it into the box, pick up any bits and pieces there. You know, I don't see us being in a situation where we don't win. I think I've put either 4 or 5-0, and I've only just worked out, having said all that, while Charlie was giving it the old 7, because if we go back to the day we wore that magical kit that Jess is modelling down for us there, that was, of course, the echoes that were being shouted out when I found out how long was left on the clock. And 7, it was indeed 7. So if we score 7, there's going to be a replay of that on this very show on the Monday.
I'd love to see that replayed as well. As you know, Chloe last week when she predicted 6, and I replied back 6, and then she got it right. So,
the only one.
Literally, no one went higher than 4, and she went for 6, and only one that got it. So fair play to her.
And just a quick clarification, because I feel like we've gone down substitute gate again on that one where it was me, you, and Charlie, and we're all saying the same thing. I'm not saying Skinner shouldn't change it. I totally appreciate you putting an opinion in there, and I don't disagree with it at all, as long as we're talking about changing players, because we feel like there's been a disparity in performance and people coming on and earning a position, not just because, you know, we quite like the fact that somebody's smiling or something like that.
Carol's holding you to it. So
I'll be there for it.
Monday.
I'll get the vocal cords warmed up and everything. No problems.
Expect to see that one on Monday's show. 7 o'clock, by the way, on Monday. We'll be back for the match.
7? You knock them up, I'll knock them down.
Mate, I was actually looking to see if... Oh, hang on. I'll come to Sarah's question first, because why not? I've not even read it, so there could be something... what do we think here? Do you think it's important that we get lots of goals to game? Yes, right. Now, this is a point that we mentioned on Monday, talking about goal difference and how important this might be. Because obviously, when you look at the standings, obviously the goal difference tally is quite tight. So what are we on? 24 Chelsea. I'm trying to work out the maths in my head here. 23, I'm going to say Chelsea are on.
23 Chelsea, 24 United, 20 Arsenal, 12 Man City.
So if you're looking at the top 3, discount City for a second, it is relatively close, but you'd expect City to keep going. It's actually in the title. I should have asked this question really at the start, because it's right there in the YouTube title. Jess, is this, do you think, a chance for us then to not stat pad sounds a weird way of saying it, but just put a few more goals to that tally for when we get to these tight, what we expect to be tight game? This could be a really tight game. We win 1-0, but is this an opportunity, do you think, with the form? Like I said, Reading aren't on a bad run of form, but they are shipping a lot of goals to just put some more numbers on that board?
Yeah, I think so. Reading just seem to be quite a kind of strange team. Like the way they're making these comebacks and the goals they're scoring and the teams they're scoring against are kind of making them unpredictable. Because yes, in theory, they should be a team that we can get a good goal difference against. You know, we beat them 4-0 at home. So there's no reason why we can't, at this point in the season as well, even improve on that. But then you look at the goals they're scoring and you think, what's the point in scoring 4 if they're just going to score 3? And that's kind of how they're playing. And it is a bit weird how they're kind of doing it, to be honest. I think they've got some sort of like black magic going on. So whilst, yes, it is a great opportunity for us to increase our goal difference, I really do think we need to be aware of what they are doing in the second half of games to kind of be pulling these goals back, whether it's sort of taking advantage of lapses in concentration or what. But we need to make sure that whilst we do push forward and try and increase that goal difference, we stay like totally solid at the back.
I think that's the key, isn't it, Barry, that we stay strong defensively as well, because as Jess rightly said there, if we score 4 and they score 3, we may as well have won 1-0, because it means, you know, nothing when it comes to an actual goal difference tally.
No, I mean, goals scored. If you've got the same goal difference, it goes down to goals scored eventually. But no, she's 100% right, really. I mean, that is taking it to an incredibly specific situation that's rare, but you know, there is that. But yes, it's the same effectively. I think looking at the two, I've just got up the home and away tables for the Super League, and away from home we are second in the league at the moment. We've got a goal difference of 7, and at home Reading have got a goal difference of -2. So I think, kind of looking at it that way, it still seems like we should be scoring way more past them. We have got a really good away record. Our away record is marginally better than our home record. So I think you've got to. The most important thing is winning the game. That's, as I said, that from the start. If we only win it 1-0 like we did against Leicester, it's 3 points and we just have to take that and run. Equally, getting more goals, especially against, and I've got to say it, the teams that are down the foot of the table trying to fight for relegation, it's a must. We didn't do it against Leicester. We need to do that here because getting that good goal difference, it could be vital. It could be vital. I mean, just imagine, Connor. Imagine, Jess, we're sat there the final day of the season, level on points. It's going to be
a really good opportunity. Really good opportunity. We do need to start making, I say start. This season we have been making the most of these opportunities, and we need to continue. I reckon another 4-0. I think we're going to do it 4-0 again.
That's what I put, 4-0. I don't quite think it will get to 7, but even if we win 3, I'll be happy with that because we'll add the 2 together to get 7. That's not a problem. We can do that.
Just looking at there was Yehuda mentioned it about 25 minutes ago now, and I said I'd come back to it because the reason why I've left this till last before we do score predictions, we are going to wrap this one up a little bit earlier than we usually do. Is there anyone in the Reading squad that you look at and think dangerous player to look out for? The one that I always used to say is Deanne Rose, but she got injured in the first game of the season against us and has been out for the whole season since then. Other than that, you're looking at the player that we were actually linked with, although it was probably more agent talk than anything, in Justine van Havermaet. I hope I've said that right, in midfield, very tall Belgian midfielder. Other than that, I genuinely don't think, and people in the comments, if you can point people out to me, because I genuinely don't think there's anyone I look at and go, yeah, that's a real threat. I think their top scorer is only on 3 goals, I think.
Go on, I'd like you to. Who's that, Connor?
No, I'm not saying that name.
Who's that on the 3?
I'll let you say that.
I'll give it a go.
Is it
Sanna Trollsgaard Nielsen?
Yeah, I think that's it. We'll go with that. Yes, TJ, she is still out. I think was it? Did she do her ACL or not? But she's definitely been out for the season since that first game of the season against us. So it must be a bad one. And yes, in answer to that question. But I mean, is there anybody? Like I said, I'm struggling to point players out here.
That's the big one. I mean, Natasha Dowie was quite good last season, but again, not seeing too much from her. I don't think
she's done a lot at all this season.
It's hard to pick out players that have done really, really well from a team that have not done really, really well. You know, they're just lucky that Leicester have been worse.
Yeah. That's the thing. They could get dragged into a relegation battle if they're not careful. Leicester are only 4 behind them now with a game in hand. They win that game in hand, they're right behind them. So
I mean, they're tied with Brighton, aren't they? Sort of right at the bottom.
Yeah, both on 7, aren't they? With Leicester on 3. So there's a potential there. I mean, John's mentioning the young striker, Harry's. It's again, I've not watched Reading enough to offer an opinion on her. Unfortunately, like I said, usually my go-to is Deanne Rose because I think she's a quality player. Did well against us in the away fixture last season. But other than that, like I said, it's Van Havermaet. Again, I'm sorry if that's not how you say her name. In midfield.
They've got Deanna Cooper, haven't they? And that's the one who was at Chelsea, wasn't it?
You're testing my memory now.
I'm sure she was in that sort of all or nothing thing that was on DAZN. And she just wasn't playing much apart from in the Conti Cup. So I think they've got her. And of course, they've got Diane Caldwell as well. But yeah, there's just nobody other than that. There's just really not. I can't.
No, that's fair enough.
I'd love to see her be more positive, but if they had positivity, they wouldn't, like I say, be so poor.
No, that's fair enough. We'll end it on us. Well, you both said your score predictions, but I'll get you to the goal scorers as well. Just before we do that, in TJ's comment, I feel like Reading's one of those teams that keep failing to keep up and adding quality players. I think they're just going to be a solid WSL. This is the problem. This is a whole other debate I'm not going to go into now, but that's the problem with the WSL, isn't it? When you've got the top 3, 4, the rest of the teams don't really play for much when you've got a team as bad as Leicester. But Leicester are adding a lot of play. Keep an eye on them, by the way. I know Emma Sanders tweeted that earlier. Keep an eye on them for the rest of the window because they are making quite a lot of signings, which is a bit surprising. Some of the names they're linked with. But Jess, start with yourself then. 4-0, I think you said you've gone for. Who are your goal scorers in that one?
I think Russo's going to get 2. Tooney's going to get 1, and Garcia's going to get 1.
Barry?
Just a quick one. You talked about Leicester getting the points. They're playing Spurs away, and if they get that, the Spurs can find themselves. Thought they would just be 3 points off of that as well. So, hashtag just saying. Carol's gone 7-0. I want Carol to list her 7 players or 7 goals. We don't get that many that score the same amount, so I'm going to share it out amongst the team, and I'm going to say Russo's bound to get on the score sheet. I kind of think the spine's going to do it, so I'm going to go Russo, Toon, Zellum, and Blundell.
I could fully see that as well.
She had a good little effort. She was unlucky, just fizzed past the post. So I'm going to throw her in there as well.
I think you are right, because like I said, when you look at the top scorers in the league, Russo's obviously on 5, and you've got obviously Bunny Shaw and Daly at the top with both 9. As you said, our goals are very spread out across the whole team. Rather than one person, you'd expect obviously Russo to get the most, being the one that's getting all the goals.
You're on Russo 5, Dorton 4, Toon 3, and then Letizia, Ladd, and Zellerman 2.
So it is very spread out. There's a lot of 4-0s in the chat. John's going 4-0, Garcia, Williams, Tooney, Russo. Peter's gone for Garcia, Russo, Toon, another 4-0. Russo, it's the same names. It's Millie Scores. Remember who said? Yeah. Oh, that wasn't the one I was going to bring up. I'll bring up that one anyway. 3-0. Russo, Honor, and Toon. This was the one I wanted. The one that Barry's been waiting for.
Here we go.
The 7 goals. So you've got Russo, Toon.
Honor, 1 for Toon. 2 for Garcia. Oh, Toon 2. 2 for Toon. We love that.
I would love to see that. Absolutely love that.
Who just gone for a 5?
All over that.
Russo 2, Garcia 2, and Honor stunning. Honor should have had a goal last season as well. But,
yes.
We'll glance over that. John's gone for a Mary hat-trick. Now that would be something, right?
Wouldn't it?
Get that updated on the predictions league, Barry. Charlie's going 10.
Well, now that you've put that, I'm going to have to. Is that 10-0?
I think for me, I'll probably go for 4 as well. I think 4 is the safe bet, isn't it? I'll probably change my mind when I go and put my predictions in later tonight. But yeah, I think 4. I think, Russo, Garcia, I think the subs will come on and make an impact again, though. So I think Thomas and I think Leon will score again. I think she'll go on the score sheet. Charlie said she went for 5. So there we go. I'd say Carol's laughing now. Carol could be the one laughing at us when 7-0 comes in on Sunday. We're rocking up with a 7-0 for the match reaction.
I'm not even convinced Leon's going to get on the pitch.
I think she might. Do you know why? Because I think she needs a bit of window shopping, to put it in a phrase. And I think the club and Mark might know that she needs to put herself out there a little bit, make her play 10, 50 minutes at the end, show what she can do. And she could be out. That's my little theory, anyway, on that one. But yeah, there we are. I was just quite intrigued, just reading all the scores. Then I was quite enjoying that.
Everyone except Mary is the goals. 1 for everyone. Clear it out like sweet.
I mean, yeah, it's mental, isn't it? Because that's the thing with United. Anything's possible this season. I think like 7-0 would seem out of the question, but
I can still see Skinner scoring.
Well, you never know. Anything's possible.
That would be quite something. There was a question a bit further up, just to round off this show, because I said I've got to jump because I'm on the next show on the men's channel in half an hour, and I've not even done any preparation for that. So
On to men's shows.
I know, as Barry did on Wednesday. We've done a lot of shows this week. We've been on here, I think, more.
Tell me about it. I want to hear more than I see anybody else in my life.
But
I don't love it.
A quick question on this one then. Any of you can answer this one. What do you think of Spurs' signings? They've obviously Beth England, Iwabuchi on loan. They're making some big names.
They're making some big moves. Obviously, Beth England scored on her debut, which is not really surprising. My well, I say concern. It's not a concern because I'm not a Spurs fan. But it is, although, you know, get the ball to Beth England, she's very high likelihood she's going to score. But it is, you've got to get that ball to her. You know, she's not someone who's going to pick the ball up in the middle of the pitch, run half the length of the pitch, and then pop it in herself. You know, she kind of is almost like a poacher. She will be in the right place at the right time. That's how she's going to get her goals. But that means that she's got to have kind of a good ball into her. But yeah, some of the other kind of moves they're making there, I think they are going to be sort of one to watch in this second half of the season. There's been some good bits of business going around for some of these other clubs, I think. I think Spurs and probably Villa have made some quite kind of big signings that are probably going to, well, maybe boost their kind of chances in the second half of the season.
They're certainly trying, aren't they? Trying to squeeze that gap to the top three now, top four. But you know, as Peter said, Jade Moore linked Spurs. There's a couple of other WSL sides after her signature as well as a couple of other of our players as well. But yeah, it's just you were just saying that Pet's very isolated. So it's typical, isn't it? Spurs make some good signings after their rearranged fixture with us gets put after the window. So it's just typical, isn't it?
But, I mean, it is, but I think you also have to sit there and realise they had to do it. They had to do it because they were having a really, really, really poor season. They looked like it was going to start really well for them, and they've not been anywhere near the top four. They've been a bit of a damp squib, really, if I'm brutally honest with you. I'm trying to find it because there was something here about Skinner talking, and he actually mentioned them, and he was saying about how, you know, people use the loan market and all that sort of thing. I can't see it, I'm afraid. I'm doing what you're doing.
You know, they have been very poor so far this season, Spurs, I thought. I think they're probably the biggest disappointment, I'd say, so far this season, and kind of biggest underperformers. Because they have got some good players already. I don't know whether they've kind of struggled with injuries kind of pre-season or what, but they've really kind of underperformed against what I would have expected from them. So I still think, even with their signings, I still think we'll turn them over. Not a problem.
Yeah. Well, I'm afraid I couldn't find it, but he actually quoted saying, you know, Spurs are doing what they want to do and being pleased about what he was doing. And I just thought to myself, you shouldn't be talking about Spurs in the transfer market, really, because it's not worked for him. It's not worked, and it's Spurs. It's been atrocious. It really has. I mean, they're 8th in the league, but they're, in the nicest possible way, they are as close to the relegation zone as they are to 7th. And I think that's really the big point. They're 6 points behind 7th. They're 6 points ahead of Leicester. So, you know, yeah, it's game over for Spurs. They need to do something. And I think their Skinner is in the last chance saloon. And as we sang loudly many times to them, our Skinner is better than yours.
Indeed. And that's a good place to round it off. Yeah, that'll be sung, I'm sure, if the scoreline gets anything like the Liverpool one. And just to end off the show, I don't feel like that's the comment of the night right there. Skinner just likes Cornwell at half time, at the full time. Now,
that's Rihanna. Get angry.
I couldn't even picture such a scene in my head. I've got to be honest. There we are. Right, we shall wrap it up there. When are we going to be back? Well, the pre-recorded show with Laura, the Canadian national team expert, will be out as soon as Jade Riviere is announced. As I could be sat here, and this will never be announced, and we'll be sat here at the end of the window, and I will look like a right idiot. But when that gets announced, you'll see that pre-record. You'll also see another one with a PSG fan as well, when Estelle gets over the line as well. Other than that, we'll be back on Monday with the match reaction at 7:00. If you're following, obviously, the men's team, please do follow the new Twitter account for the men's account as well. We're trying to grow that one before the old account is shut down. That's at All for United TV at the moment. That will be changed to just at All for United, so make sure you follow that. I'll be live in half an hour on the men's fan channel, so make sure you come over and check out that. We're previewing the Arsenal game. Now, we've got a double header on Sunday. We've obviously got the women's game against Reading, which we've just spoken about, and then we've got the Arsenal game for the men's as well. So come and check that out in half an hour's time. Make sure you're following these two, liking the video and subscribing, and we shall see you in the next one.